Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'm from Group 3. I want to present about types of interpretation. First, interpretation is of explaining, reframing, or otherwise showing your own understanding of something. A person who translates one language into another is called an interpreter because they are explain what person is saying to someone who doesn't understand. Interpretation is a service that happens in the moment. It is delivered live either in unison with simultaneous or immediately after consecutive the original speech with no help from script, dictionary or other reference material. All interpretation relies on conveying information from a source language into a target language, but there are multiple ways this is achieved. In the best method for interpretation will depend upon the needs of the speaker and listener. Sometimes more than one method might be used. First method is simultaneous interpretation. One of the most frequently required type of interpreting in the business world is simultaneous interpretation. What is simultaneous interpretation? Simultaneous interpretation is the process of delivering a speaker words in another language in the real life. First, the classic example of a simultaneous interpreter in action is at an international conference. The speaker takes to the stage and speak in their native tongue. Meanwhile, interpreters, who are usually located in booths around the room, translate the speaker's words so that audience member can listen in the different language. The second type is consecutive interpretation. The fact, numerous interpreters develop their own ideogram symbol which aid them by regarding to the word, but the talk of the speaker in the type of language independent form. To allow interpreter to render what was said into the target language, consecutive interpreting relies on the speaker to stop speaking frequently. On average, every 1 to 5 minutes, the speaker pause come at the end of a sentence or topic. While waiting, the interpreter listen and take note as the speaker move forward to the communication. A vital skill involved in consecutive interpreting is note taking, since few people can memorize a complete paragraph in a single hearing without losing detail. For individuals who already work in translation but are considering a move into interpretation, consecutive interpreting could be a good first step. You can discover more about moving from a translation role to an interpretation role by clicking the link.
The third, whispered interpretation. The fact, whispered interpretation is often referred to as chuchotage or whispering in French. A variation of simultaneous interpreting, whispered interpretation involves the interpreter addressing a small target language audience by whispering a simultaneous interpretation. This method is generally used only when a few audience members do not speak the source language. The fourth, relay interpretation. Much like the races that share its name, relay interpreting is achieved by a group of participants. A source language interpreter transfers the message to a group of interpreters who have that language in common and who each speak another language as well. One at a time, these interpreters convey the message to their respective audiences. For example, a German speech is first interpreted in English to a group of interpreters, and then interpreted by each into Arabic, French, and Russian. And the last one, liaison interpretation. This type of interpreting is typically used for small, informal situations such as meetings. However, an interpreter may shadow a client for several hours or all day long throughout everyday activities. A liaison interpreter is an interpreter who is engaged to act as a translator for two individuals. The liaison interpreter translates for each in turn, enabling them to converse freely and relatively fluidly. Liaison interpretation is a form of consecutive interpretation. In terms of a use case, picture a high-profile business person visiting the company of fellow entrepreneur in a foreign country. The liaison interpreter would be available for the duration of the visit, accompanying the business person around the premises and translating as required. Interpreting takes many forms, and all of them are intellectually demanding, requiring tireless work, because interpreters must manifest intense concentration in order to hear every word spoken and provide an accurate rendition in the target language. Professional interpreters often rest between sessions after interpreting, depending on the difficulty of the content. So that's all from us. Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.